Welcome in, ZZ Proxies. Whether you've watched the 1.6 special program or not, we're here to swiftly get you the most vital information, as well as some hidden secrets that they've mentioned during the program that give us a big head start to preparing for this next version and beyond. If we're ready to begin, we have pre-farm information, polychromes, and more. Welcome to your ZZZ 1.6 prep guide. But before we begin, I can't stress this enough that we are so close to 20k subscribers on YouTube. If you like the best information with a little sprinkle of variety fun on the side, make sure you guys subscribe because you will be supporting the channel and it'll also help you get recommended more videos of ours. And I did promise Anby that if I didn't reach 20k, I would have to get her a smorgasbord of burgers. So, yeah, please hit the red button right now. Thanks. There are 5 major things about this update, but let's start with a bang. Or should I say a flash? Formerly known as Soldier Zero, Anby is an attacker electric unit that uses a slightly different way of the stacking mechanic. Each enemy she comes across, she'll be able to build onto them the Azure Flash special skill. Now, these stacks are applied onto the enemy in particular, not necessarily onto Anby yourself, seen with the absence of a stack bar. This is not of a big concern, but imagine that if you had a group of mid to long range units who don't group very well, you might have a slight issue with grouping them, but that's something we'll have to worry about down the road. Let's focus on the positives, and that is the amazing speed at which she operates. Consuming the stack of White Thunder will allow Anby to dish out a slew of electric zoomies and an additional damage per consumption. And her EX Special and Ultimate revolve around gaining stacks on enemies, both allowing her to automatically stack 3 after usage. This is going to be important to manage against enemies, but don't be dismayed, this is definitely much easier than Harmasa. So if you were to type to vertically invest into Harmasa, Mindscapes, and W Engines, well, let's just say it's a Border Girl diff. Anby is on a different level here as Anby doubles down on crit damage by involving said Aftershock with more crit. So, with your own attacks hitting amazing crit damage, your Aftershocks too, it's like having 1.5 of a unit's worth of damage. Insane! And after hitting 3 different Azure flashes on the same enemy, an extra bolt of Aftershock damage will be inflicted onto the battlefield. So, in tight groups, Anby is queen. But assuming the kit correctly, each character will be building their own White Thunder stacks, such that consuming them per each enemy might be troublesome or opportunistic. But before we move on, these are the materials for Anby. We currently do not know the core material, but can extrapolate everything else from previous versions. So if you're in the business for pre-farming, here you go. And make sure to stay tuned to Discord, Twitter, and Blue Sky as I'll be putting the backlog of my guides and infographics over on that side as well. Next, we move on to arguably the character with greater aura, and that simply is a given with the sick visor of hers. Let's welcome in Trigger. Although I'd like to save Trigger for another day, they give us a bunch of insight as to her functionality, as she, alongside Polka, will become some of our very first off-field stun agents. Much like how Bernice can still create value for herself with afterburns when off-field, so too can Trigger be effective. Once triggering, yes, the pun was intended, the coordinated support state, you can allow Trigger to launch what I can only describe as lightning zoomies. Because to be honest, all 3 of them have similar dashing mechanics built into them. With these zoomies, she'll be able to build up damage against the enemies, but more importantly, daze and actually give a damage bonus debuff. So the usability is actually quite nice and comparable to Jingyi. But now just off field. I won't mention more since the bigger question that y'all want answered is how comparable is Trigger to Jingyi. Personally, even though the archetypes are the same, they cover 2 different playstyles of stuns. Yet some might say that doesn't matter. To me, it definitely does. And that not only insinuates personal preference, but that also means with on or off-field stunts, certain teams can benefit from either or. So being on the look for that, here are Trigger's materials barring the core material. And lastly, for characters, we also have Polychrome, which, I'm gonna be honest, as a physical stunner, she's actually more exciting to me simply based off of the opportunities we now have with an A-tier option against the premium Caesar King. Please don't call me a furry for advocating for the F2Ps, okay? Just because I like Jane Doe and Yanagi, Miyabi, and... Okay, I see your guys' point. A more dedicated support, Poker can trigger off-field zoomies with the use of an EX Special and Evasive Assist, so characters like Big Boy Billy are prime time for the cat. Your Poker's farmables again, we can't confirm with y'all core, so just keep farming away at those chips and seals. Honestly, with 3 new characters, my hands are even full with only a week and a half out. Now, characters is one out of the 5 things I actually wanted to mention in this video. That means we still have a bit of ways to go. So let's move on to money. Now let's start breaking down the polychromes. Now, understandably, we don't know the exact number, but with the several events mentioned, 2 new story quests plus the limited trial events, the main story quest, which is looking to be another cinematic piece, and with extra fun polychrome events and rotating game modes here and there, we total ourselves back up to another 100 plus pulls, give or take, with Battle Pass and the Endernaut Pass. That should even be more. Great news, as that means ZZ isn't pulling any punches from this patch. In my personal opinion, after 2 banger patches, I thought we'd be pulling back, but maybe this is just a new norm, and that'll most likely be 1.7 before you eventually head into a 2.0 or late 1.8. But I digress, using these general pull guidelines to plan how many pulls you'll be able to do or potentially save for later, as 1.6 brings us a ton of content still. Third, we move on to something that was actually omitted versus actually included, and that is a new drive disc set. With the addition of 2 new factions, you would assume that we'd have gotten a new cleanup stage with some new drive disc sets. Now, they're either just holding the zucchini out with us, or they're just going to release it in 1.7, which IMO is a bit late. I think we should have had the opportunity now to farm them, but maybe they just withheld the information until they're ready to officially announce it. But I'm looking forward to see what an Oboe Squad set is, damage set, stun set maybe, whatever maybe. The 4th item on my really important list is looking back at older and returning characters. Lost Void is getting another look back with new upgrades to Asriel, Evelyn, Corin, and Jane, which is actually quite interesting. Thank God they're looking back at these 2, though at least since we'd like to have some sort of buff for the physical units while we're also using Pulchra. But to not have Billy, Necromata, or Piper, well, it's a start. I forgot to mention this earlier with the new characters, but old characters of Bernice and Juliet are coming back in the double banner system. If you're looking for real advice, I personally think that Trigger and Bernice are the 2 more sought after units, which is nothing against Anby, but she's just another damage dealer, which is a class that is plentiful. An off-field anomaly unit and stun unit will be more unique and provide more premium support to your overall account, especially going into 1.7. Talking about 1.7, this is the moment you vampire sucking lovers have been waiting for, as we finally get to talk more about the Mockingbirds. These Phantom Thieves, as the special program mentions, these 2 are smooth operators, and we've now also confirmed that Hugo Vlad is wielding a scythe. So get your wallets out, ladies. Vivian is also a fashionista and more than likely will use her umbrella in battle. But from the 1.6 story quest, which both of them are involved in, we're more than likely going to see a bit of both of them debut before the special episode of 1.7. And with looming thoughts on the return to the anomaly meta, I've no doubt that we could potentially see one of them as such, maybe with an element we haven't seen in a while per Schlaps. Again, conjecture, my dear Watson. We'll have to wait for more information. And that's all, folks. There's obviously more information that I left out, but that's all big fluff, and you came to this video for the big news, and hopefully we delivered. Stay tuned by subscribing below as we roll out the yellow carpet, silver carpet, whichever carpet, with more videos in 1.6. My name is Josh. Click on this next video because YouTube thinks you'll like it. Au revoir, and thanks for watching.